after doing that, I worked in a makeover studio for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a photography studio in central London, which was a really good experience because you get to work on not just models or, beautiful people. You work on normal people, people with wonky faces, bad skin, no eyebrows, Hi, yes, I'm going to accept the job. Send. The next morning she was like, quick, fill these forms out. And then literally 6 weeks later, I was in Macau and I've like sold my lovely brand new car that I just bought, lost loads of money on it from selling it again. And I just made the decision and done it. And I get to storytell through my makeup. I get to, I zone out. I go into my own world when I'm doing makeup on someone. I just love it.
Welcome to the Theatre Art Life podcast. Today we're talking with Nikki Wright. Nikki Wright is a freelance makeup and hair designer based in the Middle East. Nikki specialises in theatrical and creative makeup and hair for large-scale shows, live events and media. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm very, very good. So good to see your face. So I don't actually know much about your history. So tell me, where'd you grow up and how did you evolve to get into makeup and hair design?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I've never told you, have I? So I first wanted to become a makeup artist after watching Michael Jackson's Making of Thriller, watching all of Rick Baker's creations and, like then the making of. And then I had a bit of a talent for painting and drawing, and I was then obsessed with drawing and painting Michael Jackson every single day after school. And then, just kind of developed my art skills and studied art all the way through secondary school. And then went on to an art college. I did an arts and media, GMBQ, and it was like sculpting, painting, drawing, life drawing, a whole mixture of, different mediums. And I did inquire about, doing makeup and everything. But back in the day, when I was younger, it was, all the courses were private. You couldn't get any loans or diplomas or anything, through the government. It was all, like studying at all the top makeup schools were private and very expensive, So I then put it to the side a little bit, and then I ended up going to university to do another arts and media degree, which was like film photography, fine art and animation. And then I kind of specialized more in time-based new media and editing and filmmaking. And then I completely went off the rails and decided to work in nightlife for the whole of my 20s. And decided by the time I got to around, I think it was about 29, I was like, I can't do this. I can't work in nightlife forever, doing what I was doing. So that's, and I'd saved up to do a makeup course at Delamar Makeup Academy, which was based in Ealing Film Studios in West London. And that's when I started my makeup career. I did like an intensive makeup, wigs, hairstyling course there. And I suppose that was nearly 12 years ago now. So yeah.
That's it. And did you start work in the UK after you did that degree? Like, how did that look from, doing your nightlife life to then that course? And then, straight after that, did you get work straight away?
Because, I will go into a little bit of what I was doing in the nightlife. Like you already know. So I was working at Spearmint Rhinos as a, pole dancer. So when I finished my makeup course, my principal later, she said to me, we have the perfect job for you as a makeup trainee on a job that's coming up. We'll give you, we need someone for work experience for 5 days, and then let's see how you go. And, maybe they'll take you on for the rest of the run of the film. So the film was based on Paul Raymond the guy that started all the cabaret strip clubs in Soho in London. So the film's called Look of Love. And it's got like Steve Coogan in it and Anna Frail. So they took me on as a trainee, and the reason why they took me on as a trainee because there was a lot of strippers and nakedness in the film, and they needed somebody to stick the merkins on the strippers because, you know, like they hired these modern day, you know, strippers, and they don't have hair down there. So, you know, like they had merkins to stick that had to be stuck on the girls. And, you know, my principal was like, you're the perfect candidate because you used to work in a strip club and, you know, it's not going to make you shy or embarrass you, you know. So that was my job for the first week of being on this
That's
film as a trainee.
hilarious. That's your first
Yeah.
job.
And like, you know, nobody wanted to wash them either. So that was me with my jar of, you know, 95% alcohol shaking up these merkins in a jar.
The glamorous end life of entertainment.
Yeah. So, and then the reason why they kept me on, there was a scene that involved a girl that was sat there in like where she was sat there completely naked on this stool, and she was holding this big yellow python. And they were doing a scene in one of the cabaret clubs, and like my crowd room manager Peter, she was like, "I'm not going anywhere near the snake, Nikki. That's your job. You're the trainee. Go deal with the snake and the hair getting tangled up." And I was like, okay. Like, what makes you think I'm any good with snakes? And I got to set, and this snake was massive, and it was
Oh my
all wrapped around
gosh.
the girl's hair. It was getting tangled up in the, you know, the stool and stuff, and her hair was going all over the place. So, you know, the director was Michael Winterbottom, and you know, he was like, "Someone get that snake out the stool." I was like, "Out the stool," like, you know. So I was like, so it was just me. So I was like, okay, I'll go and do it. So it's like untangling this snake and sorting the hair out. I mean, he was like, whoever she is, she's staying up for the rest of the run. I was like, oh, yes.
Job
So I
security,
ended up
snake
doing,
wrangler.
yeah, yeah. So I ended up staying on the job for like, it was a 3-month job in the end. And, you know, like there was body painting involved. I had to paint some of the girls like completely in gold, and you know, like hairstyling. And it was a period film, so everything from like 1940s right up to 1990s. So it was a brilliant first job to get onto, you know, all thanks to my
That's awesome.
principal at Delamar. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so
And
good.
my past life.
Yeah. Well, one thing always leads to another, doesn't it? So nothing is ever lost
Exactly,
as
you
far as
know.
I'm concerned.
Exactly. And you know, like I'm definitely not ashamed of, you know, working, you know, in the clubs in London, because it's made me who I am now and the experience that I've got, you know. So
Yeah.
but yeah, then went on to do a few commercials again with some of the tutors from the makeup school that I trained at, because obviously they're all working in the film and TV commercial
Industry.
industry. So I got taken on as working with Catherine Scoble. She's actually a BAFTA winner. She did oh god, what was I'm trying to think of the TV series in the film that she done now. I can't remember. Oh, but this is 80s or something. It was on Channel 4, but anyway, she won a BAFTA for it, and I ended up working with her on a few like commercials and bits and pieces, and then I was just like, you know, after those bits and pieces, I ended up like just, you know, sending my bits of portfolio out that I did have, and you know, kind of just asking you know, designers for work experience. And I came across a wonderful lady in theatre called Linda McKnight. She's a wig designer in the West End Musical Theatre. God rest her soul, she is passed away now, but she was she taught me so much. So she took me on as her main assistant, and we ended up doing the Viva Forever Spice Girls show, the creation for that. We did like 39 Steps, Jersey Boys. So I was a swing on Jersey Boys for a while, and I used to go around and, you know, do the creations with her and go and buy wigs, and she'd teach me how to, you know, set things and, you know, measure heads and, you know, all the things that you don't really get taught at makeup school, you know, like,
Mm.
so it was a big learning experience working with her. We did a Barnum in Chichester as well. We worked at the Chichester Festival Theatre quite a bit. Did a few, our pajama game. Yeah, I did a lot of different things with that lady. So yeah, I mean, after doing that, I worked in a makeover studio for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a photography studio in central London, which was a really good experience because you get to work on not just models or, you know, beautiful people. You work on normal people, people with wonky faces, bad skin, no eyebrows, you know, challenging hair. So I would definitely, whenever I teach at the makeup school, what I always say to my students, if you can work in a makeover studio when you first start,
Yeah.
it's invaluable experience, you know, because then you can work on normal people as well as just models and actors, you know.
When was it the point that you felt like you had makeup under your belt? Like when did you say, I'm a good makeup artist now? At what point did you sort of feel that?
I would say, I don't know, I never feel that. I always feel like I can be making something better. I always feel like I could be better. This is the problem being an artist. So, you
Yeah.
know, you never feel satisfied. Whenever I put a bit of work out, it's like, oh, that could have been better.
Yeah.
I could have done it more like that. I could have done it more, you know, and people are always like, but that looks fantastic. And I'm like, why not? You know, so um, I suppose I recognized myself more as a better makeup artist. I think it was after I worked at Cirque Soir in Dubai for,
Hmm.
I think it was about 2.5 years. I think then that's when I was like, well, yeah, my skills have become, you know, to a better standard. You know, we was having to do like 9 performers in, it was about 5 hours, wigs, hair, makeup, creative makeup looks, and we'd have a meeting every week, and they never wanted me to repeat the makeup looks. So it was always coming up with new characters, and you know, it was quite challenging, fast paced, and nightclub, back in a nightclub again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but you know, even though it was hard work, and oh dear God, I did moan at the time. It's like my back, you know. But again, it was an amazing experience, and it's trained me up to, you know, it's why I can do what I can do now and the speed what I can do it because of that experience also,
Yeah.
you know.
And what took you to the Middle East? What was the moment that was it that job, or what was your
Yeah,
impetus to
it
go
was
from the
that
UK
job.
to there?
Well, so after working in, so I was working in the makeover school, or the makeover studio, and at the time I was engaged to ex Royal Marine. He wasn't a very pleasant person, shall I say, and that engagement ended really badly. So when I left him, I was then able to work in a nightclub because he never allowed me to work in certain places, you know. So once we broke up, I was then able to work at the makeover studio and work in Cirque Soir in London. So, you know, and having left with pretty much nothing, I was working all the hours like that I could possibly do. So working at makeover studio all day. I'd go back home for like 3 hours and I'd work all night in the club doing the creative makeup in London, you know. And it got to a point I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need a break. And I was on signed up to like a free agency website called Star Now, which is in the UK. So you paid something like £5 a month, and you know, you could, you know, go for low paid jobs or work experience. And there was a job opening for the Dubai Cirque Soir, and there was an advert on there, so I applied for it through this website and not directly through them at the club, because I was like, I want to do it properly. I want to see if they like my work without trying to get it through knowing them, you
Your
know?
connections, yeah.
Yeah. So then the creative manager from Dubai called the creative manager in Cirque London, and they came up to me and they were like, Nikki, we didn't know you wanted to go to Dubai. And I was like, I need a break. I need someone to give me a chance. You know, I've just had come out of a really, really abusive, horrible relationship, and I'm working all the hours I could possibly do. You know, like I need someone to give me a break. You know, and he just looks at me and goes, "We're going to make it happen." And then um, they took me on a job in Monaco, and then a 2-week job in the Maldives, which was actually for the royal family of Saudi. It was and it got leaked to the press. I'll tell you about that in a minute because that's another funny story. um, yeah, so then after doing the Maldives trip, that's when they made it all official. I was like, yeah, we're definitely sending you to Dubai. And literally a week later, I had to get rid of all of my stuff in London, and they flew me out to Dubai. I was like a rabbit in headlights because the buildings, everything in Dubai. They put us up in the trade center, and I was just like, wow, this is nothing I've ever experienced. And then I literally got thrown in feet first, and yeah.
That's madness. What was the first thing that you kind of realized about yourself when you started living overseas? And then I want to go back to the Maldives story because I want to hear that.
Okay. Well, to be very honest, the first 6 months of being in Dubai, I was really homesick. I arrived the middle of July, so it was, and the middle of Ramadan at the time as well. That was 9 years ago. I first arrived in Dubai, so yeah, middle of Ramadan, and it was before Dubai was a bit more, lenient with rules and things. We weren't allowed to drink water in public during Ramadan back then, and I mean, you shouldn't still now, but it was a lot stricter. So it was definitely a learning experience. And meeting people from all over the world as well. Learning to work with lots of different cultures and personalities, and when I was working in the circus nightclub in Cirque du Soleil, they're all sideshow performers as well. So, they're sticking needles through their faces, sword swallowing, setting themselves on fire and things. It's just like, who are these crazy people? But all lovely, crazy, but lovely.
Yeah. That's so fun.
Yeah, so it was a very fun experience, very, very fun. And and we was just working in the evening, so I'd start work at 7 p.m. in the evening through till 4 o'clock in the morning. So then I'd have my whole daytime. So the first year or two of being in Dubai, it just felt like I was on a working holiday, which was amazing. I was like, what have I done to deserve this?
That's so funny. So back to your work, you also spent some time in Macau, right? And how did that you went from Dubai to Macau and then back to Dubai? Is that how it rolled out?
That's right. Yeah. So after finished working at Cirque, I went freelance for a little bit, working some other nightclubs, and and I didn't like I wasn't getting bored of Dubai, but I was struggling a little bit with the freelancing, and I hadn't got my visa sorted and things, and then I got again, it was my makeup school. They sent me a message, and they were like, we've just been asked by a company in Macau, a theatre company in Macau, asking us if they've got any graduates that would be good at this particular role. So we've suggested you, can you contact Margarita and email her, send her your portfolio. So I sent it all off to Margarita, and she was the wardrobe manager of MGM Cotai, and they were looking for a makeup and hair resident artist there. So I sent it off, and they got back to me, and they were like, yeah, we'd love you, please, we want to get you out. And I actually turned them down the first time because I was like, do I want to move to Macau? It means changing countries again and starting my life up fresh again. And
yeah,
and then I left it for a few months, and luckily I said no to going out there the first time, because that's when they had that huge typhoon that destroyed Macau, and
Hato.
was, really, really quite. I would have only have been there for like a week if I'd gone when I was supposed to. So I think it worked in my favor not taking it on. But then a couple of months later, Margarita was on my case again. She was like, please, Nikki, we can't find anyone. We love your work. We really, really, really want you to come to Macau. Please, 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 please. Like literally everyone. And she was like, I'm going to call you unofficially on Zoom. I need to speak to you, like, so she unofficially called me. She was like, please, we need you. And Aoife Carey, she was like, please, Nikki. And I was like, well, let me think about it. And then I made them sweat it out for a few more weeks. And then I was waiting to get paid from a lot of my freelance work in Dubai, and it was taking 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like hand to mouth. This is ridiculous. So I made a random decision at 3:00 in the morning.
And now a note from our sponsor. The Theatre Art Life podcast is proud to be sponsored by ClearCom. ClearCom is the leader in voice communications for theatre and the performing arts. Call your cues with the simplicity and elegance of ClearCom Intercom solutions. You can find them at clearcom.com. Go check them out.
And I emailed Margarita back and I was like, hi, yes, I'm going to accept the job. Send. The next morning she was like, quick, just fill these forms out. And then literally 6 weeks later, I was in Macau, and I've like sold my lovely brand new car that I just bought, lost loads of money on it from selling it again. And I just made the decision and done it. And there I was in Macau, not driving my Audi A5, but on a bus. You know what the bus is like? I was like, what have I done? I've done it again.
Is this a good decision or not? Oh my God.
This is a good decision. It's okay.
And what was your what would you what's your takeaways from your time there in Macau? What did you learn about living in Asia as opposed to Dubai?
I did struggle living in Macau. You know this. I've spoken to you about this before, but I learned, I definitely leveled up in my career working in Macau. Once I was working at MGM, they then asked me to design the makeup looks and the hair for that resident show. Unfortunately, it didn't make it to box office, but still the experience was amazing, and it taught me so much. And then it worked. It coincided brilliantly when they, kind of made us all redundant at MGM. House of Dancing Water needed the, makeup specialists. So I was already there. I was already doing the same job. So I went and interviewed for them, and, they took me on for that. And they made me sweat as well. They made me wait to let me know if I'd got it, and I'd actually come back to Dubai on holiday, and all my friends were like, yeah, we're getting you back. You're coming back. And then while I was in Dubai, they sent me the contract and they were like, yeah, we need you for 2 years. I was like, oh no, I'm staying in Macau.
That's funny.
But Macau taught me a lot. I managed to do a lot of, I managed to reflect a lot on myself and work on myself. I found myself quite lonely in Macau. So, I had to do a lot of soul searching and, growing up, I think. And, it was, I did struggle. A lot of people that know me from Macau, they knew that I did struggle living out there. But I think, it's difficult to adjust to certain cultures. I think I found the culture a little bit difficult to adjust to there as well, and the food and, but one good thing that did came out of Macau is that I got my little dog. So my dog kept me jumping in Macau. And awesome. Working at House Dancing Water was just amazing because the cast was a big cast, and I had to step into some very big shoes as well in House of Dancing Water. I had to take over from Betty, and she'd been there for so long, so needed to do a good job taking over from her, so there was a lot of pressure working at House to, succeed and do it well. It's just such a shame that it closed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it will open again at some point soon. I know they're talking about it, but there's still a lot to be done. So it's interesting that you say, that you struggled a little bit in Macau. I think one thing that's Macau's quite interesting is because it's such I wouldn't say it's isolating. If you're not integrating into the local communities, which is very difficult to do on a show, right? Because you're not your working weekends and nights and all
And
of
it
that
was
sort of
long.
stuff. So you can't sort of engage in the expat community that might exist there already, right? And then
Yeah,
and then it's just you like I often compare it. I always think that a lot of the people that succeeded there were the ones that used to work on cruise ships, because people who worked on cruise ships are like in the middle of an ocean nowhere, and they're used to that isolation,
confined.
right? And Macau was like this stagnant cruise ship in my mind. That's what I think about it. But also just that you do have to, when you're not surrounded by your family or friends or a nightlife that you can tap into or hobbies that you can pick up, there is that moment where you do have to like ask yourself who you are and what makes you happy, I think. And I don't necessarily, like you said, I
Yeah,
don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just something that you get confronted with when you're in a place like that.
yeah, definitely. Because the whole time I was in Dubai, well, right from I left university, I was in nightclubs, and even when I went into my makeup career, I ended up in nightlife again. So and the nightlife in Dubai is just insane. It's so much fun, and there's beach clubs and parties, and and then obviously moved to Macau, and there's like a handful of nightclubs, and music's completely different, and there's like one beach which if you go swimming in, you might come out with 3 arms and 5 eyes.
Exactly.
So I was like, so I started cycling with the motocross boys and their wives, so that was fun. And obviously I was stuck there through 2020 as well. So, which ironically, Macau, they closed the island off, but we were living as normal on the island for like the whole year, So, there was, restaurants were open, the nightclubs were open, life was normal. So I've never done a lockdown.
Yeah.
My lockdown was the borders being closed off to Macau. So, you know, fate would have it that I should have, that I was lucky to be in Macau when 2020 happened, because if I'd been in Dubai, as a freelancer, I would have had to have moved back to the UK, or I would have really struggled. So,
Yeah.
at least in 2020, fortunately, well, unfortunately, they closed the show, but they carried on paying us, and, kept us in the country. And, so very thankful to, Dragon and COD for looking after us like that, and, because, yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been a nightmare otherwise, So yeah, so actually in 2020,
Yeah.
that's when I started enjoying Macau, because I was going hiking. I wasn't in the theater for like 10 hours a day. I was hiking, cycling, out with my dog. And then I started meeting, the Air Macau crew and the teachers and the other expats, not just everyone
Mm.
that was on the show. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it is lucky that's where some people work, because I think for a lot of people in our industry, the pandemic was devastating for many people across the globe in our industry. So I always looked at some of the people that were in Macau at that time, going, "You're pretty lucky, guys, still getting a paycheck," you know.
yeah, yeah. And even though it was like a 50% paycheck, we was getting paid well in Macau. So like, oh, I was no complaints from no complaints on that side of things. And then when they decided that the show wasn't going to open, that's when we all got our goodbyes. Please, please leave. So yes, I was like, do I go back to the UK or do I go back to Dubai? And I called my dad up, and he was like, "You'd be crazy to come back to the UK. Everything's in lockdown. We're going to be in lockdown for another 6 months. Get your bum back to Dubai. At least they know who you are there, and it's opened back up, and the entertainment's starting. You've got Expo coming up, and and that was the best decision that I could have made,
Yeah,
for sure. You know, like,
amazing. Well, we always finish our podcasts with the two same questions for all our guests, and they're always very interesting. So now I'm going to ask you those questions. What's
okay.
your most favorite thing about your job or the industry?
Or my favorite thing is that I get to story tell through my makeup. I get to I zone out. I go into my own world when I'm doing makeup on someone. Um, yeah, I just love it. Why do I love it? I just find it like it's like second nature to me. Like,
Mm.
I don't have to think about it. I can just, when I start painting someone's face, I can just do it. I need like if I want to when I'm teaching at the makeup school, I'll literally have 1 or 2 reference pictures, and they're like, "Are you going to copy?" I was like, "No, I'm not going to." I never copy anything. Take a bit of that, and put it on someone's face.
Well, I've seen your work because some of it is very, very spectacular. So it's amazing that you can just improvise that. It's amazing. If you could change
Yeah.
one thing about the job, your job or the industry, what would that be?
If I could change one thing, it would be people underestimating the skill and talent of makeup artists, and how much hard work goes into it, and how much dedication and practice. It's like learning an instrument. You can't just train someone up overnight and you're an amazing makeup artist. It takes years and years and years to really become good and skilled, in this career. And it frustrates me when you see people not getting paid for their work. The rates get lowered. I wish that in the industry there was a standard rate that people stick to, because there's certain areas that doesn't happen. Like, again, in nightlife, they don't like to pay the going rate. They like to get as much out of you as possible for as little pay, and it's a shame, because they don't realize how much skill and hard work goes into it, and how much that it wrecks your body, like you're constantly cracking your neck and back.
Yeah, I mean, people don't think of it as a physical thing, but any posture in repetition can be damaging, right? And that's what you're actually doing
Yeah,
when you're either leaning over or, the
exactly.
postures you need to make to execute your job is not natural
Yeah, I mean,
necessarily.
I never thought about when I got to 40 that I would be carrying 800 milligrams of ibuprofen in my bag constantly.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But I totally concur with you in terms of because I think also, and I'm making a major assumption, but say makeup artists for people who are super famous would probably get a very good rate. And so then there's such a divide between somebody who's a makeup artist for famous people down to the day-to-day makeup artist, right? There would be such a split. And
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
often
It would
acknowledged
make,
that talented that's required for it.
yeah. I mean, like, fortunately for myself, I mean, especially in this the Middle East, people know what my rate is now, and generally, like, I get paid the rate that I've asked for, and I just like to stay quite reasonable and not, overcharge or get greedy. But if anything comes in too low, I'm like, I have to pass and give it to my assistant, or I've got
Mm,
some girls that are up and coming that would accept that for that rate. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's good. At least now you've got the reputation to charge at least a rate that you want, rather than take
Yeah,
what you need. So it's great. Nikki, it's so good to
exactly.
see you. Thank you for coming on the Theatre Art Life
Yeah, you
podcast,
too.
and
I've really
we'll
enjoyed
hope to
talking to
see
you,
you
Anna.
in
It's been
Dubai.
fun.
You
And
have a
now
great
you
day.
know all my my history.
Now I know all the stories, and now the world will too.
I can tell you some more stories over wine.
Yes, that's right. The ones
We
that
wasn't
can't be
able to do
broadcast.
that in Saudi, were we? We kept talking
No, we
about it,
weren't.
but we couldn't because we was in Saudi.
Yeah, no booze in Saudi.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.